The 2020 Triumph Street Triple R. Triumph revised its Street Triple R ahead of MY2020 with a number of improvements across the board. A more extreme nose-down look adds to its racing credentials, and it all comes powered by a new 3-banger that generates 11.3% more oomph than the superseded model. It's also available in a low configuration that drops the seat almost 2 inches closer to the deck. Triumph Street Triple R design. The factory hits all of the pertinent high points for a naked streetfighters while maintaining its signature Britishness. Triumph intends its Street Triple family to serve as its definitive naked streetfighters, and that drives the overall look of the Street Triple R. A cut-down front fender comes with foil-shaped uprights to aid in penetration and protect the swept area of the inverted front forks. Plus, its lightweight helps reduce unsprung weight at the front axle, and that brings with it a measure of extra comfort and safety as it protects the integrity of the front contact patch. Generous blackout paint covers all potential shiny bits, which gives it a stealthy, sinister panache that fits nicely with its street racing chops. Dual LED headlights come complete with DRL brows that accentuate their angry bird shape and add to your daytime visibility, safety. A short but broad flyscreen tops the headlight housings to provide protection for the LCD multifunction instrument display and its side screen that combine to handle all of the higher electronic functions as well as the mundane riding metrics. Blackout mirrors ride on a similarly dark handlebar that sports new switch cubes and 5-way joystick control to spruce up the thumb controls. The 4.6-gallon fuel tank carries a strong taper to the rear to meet the narrow waist with a broad flange up top that forms generous knee pockets and pull your legs in for man-machine integration. A sculpted saddle rides in a deep swale between the tank and upswept pillion pad for even more of said integration. The base model seat rides at 32.5 inches off the deck, but if you prefer a lower saddle, the low model drops the butt bucket down to 30.7 inches high. Fold-up foot pegs mount to the subframe for passenger comfort, but the tail is rather clean with no grab rails for your riding partner. A high and tight taillight rides in the terminus of the tail above a narrow mudguard that also mounts the back blinkers, plate holder, and taglight, all in LED tech. Overall, the factory seems to have hit all of the pertinent high points for a naked streetburner while maintaining its signature Britishness. Triumph Street Triple R chassis. At a mere 370 pounds, dry, the power-to-weight ratio promises a thrilling ride. Aluminum is the material of choice for the twin-spar front frame and die-cast, 2-piece rear frame as well as the yoke-style swing arm to keep things as light as possible on the new Street Triple R. Since it manages a dry weight of only 370 pounds, I'd say it's a job well done. The front frame sets the steering geometry at 23.5 degrees of rake with a dead short 3.87 inches of trail once the 17-inch front hoop is factored in, and that makes for decidedly agile handling to the verge of being twitchy. Cast aluminum appears yet again in the light 5-spoke wheels with a 17-incher out back as well, and they're shod with Pirelli's Diablo Rosso Corso hoops in a 120/70ths ahead of a 180/55ths to make the connection to the tarmac. They come with a top speed Z rating that will take all you and the triple can throw at it and should serve as an indication of the performance you can expect. Inverted 41mm Showa forks float the front end on the full trinity of adjustments and 4.52 inches of travel, while the rear end rides on the same set of variables with 5.15 inches of travel, plenty for civilized roads. The anchors are pretty serious as well, with dual 310mm discs and 4-bore radial monoblock calipers from Brembo to haul down the front wheel. Out back, a 220mm disc and single pot binder takes care of business, all under the watchful gaze of a stock ABS feature that'll keep you from locking them up. Triumph Street Triple R drivetrain. Carrying DNA from the famous Daytona engine, the inline triple is significantly refined from the previous generation. The 3-banger engine on the Street Triple R that contributes to the name enjoys a rare pedigree, with the famous Daytona engine as its main design contributor, and is significantly refined from the previous generation. Bore and stroke mic out at 77.99 mm and 53.38 mm for a 765cc displacement in spicy 12.5:1 compression ratio that'll demand the most octane you can get from a road pump. A ride-by-wire throttle control passes on rider demand to the EQ, but that's just the start of it all. A trio of riding mode profiles deliver varying levels of throttle response, and it comes paired with traction control to help you keep the thing dirty side down. As for power, the triple cranks out a generous 116 horsepower at a lofty 12,000 revolutions per minute, backed up by 57 pound-feet of torque that tops out at 9,400 revolutions per minute to make this a mill that likes to be wound up pretty doggone tight. Power is coupled to the transmission via a slipper-type clutch that provides some extra security for the rear contact patch by limiting the back torque in the system upon hard downshifts and engine braking actions. A 6-speed transmission crunches the ratios and sends the power to the rear wheel through a tough X-ring chain final drive, and the R comes stock with Triumph's shift assist feature that lets you bang up and down through the gears. Top speed caps at around 144 miles per hour. Triumph Street Triple R price. MSRP is $10,800, which is less expensive than previous versions. Whether you go with the stock model or its low counterpart, you can expect to shell out $10,800. Both are available in a choice between sapphire black with red trim and matte silver ice with red trim, both with widespread blackout treatment. Triumph Street Triple R competitors. The new Street Triple enters a mature market with no shortage of worthy competition from which to choose, so just a quick look at the Big Four turned up the naked Z900 abs from Kawasaki. Kawasaki Z900. The Kawi benefits from the factory's Sugomi philosophy that seeks to impart elements of a stalking predator on the hunt. Sure, the Z900 is a little bit bigger with a 948cc four-cylinder engine that puts out 125 shaft horsepower and 99 pound-feet of torque against the Triumph's 116 57ths to gain an early edge. In the looks department, the Kawi benefits from the factory's Sugomi philosophy that seeks to impart elements of a stalking predator on the hunt, and to be honest, I think the Z900 actually wins the relative beauty contest. This is mainly due to the weird sticky Audi headlight housing on the trumpet, of which I'm just not a fan. It's too insectoid, alien for my taste. The Kawi also carries a robust electronic suite that sports ABS, traction control, and power modes to meet Triumph point by point. Suspension equipment takes a dive on the Z900 with only 2 out of 3 of the tweaks carried by the trumpet. Honestly, it's the power figures that make the most difference to me between these two. And the pain gets worse for Triumph at the checkout against Kawi's $9,099 sticker. Read our full review of the Kawasaki Z900. He said. If only it weren't for that odd front end. The profile is just goofy looking up front with the eyes out on a central stalk, and I don't care if it's part of the intake or not. Looks aside, the Triumph Triple makes for a viable alternative to the usual 2 or 4 bore power plants, and at the end of the day, the new Street Triple R carves out a spot for itself among the top naked bikes in the world. She said. My wife and fellow motorcycle rider, Alan Hinton, says, I have to agree with my husband. That weird sticky Audi headlight just puts me off. The upside is, if you're sitting on it, you're not looking at it, so I'll just set that aside for a moment. Performance-wise, the chassis and power-to-weight ratio make for a fun ride, and it is priced lower than the model prior to this update. Comparing the Street Triple R and the RS has a TFT display, it has 5 ride modes instead of 3, it has a handful more horsepower, and the rear suspension on the RS is Öhlins STX40 fully adjustable piggyback reservoir RSU. You'll just have to decide if that's worth the extra $2,000 or not. Triumph Street Triple R specifications.
If you liked this video, please share your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to hit the subscribe button.